Okay, everybody ready? Welcome to the special meeting of the City Council, September 22nd, 2022. This meeting will now come to order. Please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Welsh.
Thank you. We come here tonight to celebrate the beauty of the city, the beauty of the weather that we have, and the beauty of the people who live here. We celebrate the fact that we have a government that listens to its people, in which we have a voice, in which we can speak and make suggestions. We celebrate tonight a government in which we can elect our officials and are heard.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Gunter,
Here.
Councilmember Cosden,
Here.
Hayden,
Here.
Long,
Here.
Nelson,
Here.
Shepherd,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Tate,
Here.
Councilmember Welsh,
Here.
eight present.
Madam City Clerk, do we have a council member requesting to appear remotely?
This evening, we have Mayor Gunter requesting to participate remotely.
Is there a motion to allow Mayor
So
Gunter?
moved.
Second.
Is there any council discussion? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Welsh,
Aye.
Cosden,
Aye.
Gunter,
Aye.
Hayden,
Aye.
Long,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Shepherd, Tate,
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
Item 5 is citizens' input time. A maximum of 60 minutes is set for input of the citizens on matter concerning the city government. 3 minutes per individual. Please line up at the podium on the left.
Good afternoon. Tom Shadrack, permanent resident. Just a quick comment on kind of a rule of order. We have 2 hearings tonight, and we had it a couple weeks ago. We had it last year, same process. We're all told that these hearings need to be separated, one for the millage, one for the budget, I assume for legal reasons, and then there are hearings, so I assume they're legal. So in the citizens, during their input, they're asked to only speak about the millage during the millage hearing and only talk about the budget during the budget hearing. And the council's instructed the same way, only talk about them separately. So when the millage rate is open for discussion, the city manager presents both the millage and the budget presentation at the same time. And I was always curious about why that was allowed. I mean, last week it was done. I think last year it was done as well. Seems like if we have legal entities of record, the presentations would be separated. So if you ever wanted to review the budget meeting separately by video or record, you'd have to go to the millage hearing to hear the presentation about the budget. So I was curious from a city clerk standpoint on recording and the city attorney's perspective of legality of that. So just curious, like to be educated. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak during citizens' input? Citizens' input is now closed. Is there any council discussion on citizens' input? Hearing none. Ordinance 8022. Madam City Clerk, please read the title.
Ordinance 80-22, an ordinance to establish and levy ad valorem taxes within the corporate limits of the city of Cape Coral, Florida for the tax year 2022, providing for the levy of ad valorem taxes in the amount of 5.3694 mils, based on the assessed value on non-exempt real and personal property located within the city limits of the city of Cape Coral, providing for the levy of ad valorem taxes in the amount of 0.0471 mils, based on the assessed value of the appropriate real and personal property located within the city limits of the city of Cape Coral for funds for annual debt service for the city of Cape Coral, Florida General Obligation Bond, Series 2019, and the city of Cape Coral, Florida General Obligation Bonds, Series 2021, providing for the manner of assessment and collection, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance, providing an effective date.
Thank you. Mr. Mason, Mr. City Manager?
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. This is the second of two statutorily required public hearings on the enactment of a millage rate for the upcoming fiscal year and also adoption of a budget for the upcoming fiscal year. So now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Mark Mason, your Financial Services Director, who is going to give you one presentation covering both items on tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, council members, Mr. Mayor. The presentation is going to be brief. I think we've talked about this a lot over the last year, but just as a reminder, we're doing two things tonight. We're adopting the final budget, and we're adopting the final millage rate, and we're adopting the final budget. As just a little background, a little history, we set the not-to-exceed millage rate of 5.5568 in July. That was used for the trim notice, which was mailed out in August. And then we proposed a millage rate of 5.3694 was set then at the first public hearing 2 weeks ago on September 8th. And the proposed millage rate is equal to the rollback rate. In addition, we did the advertisement in the news press, which is required by statute on Sunday, and it did appear, so and it looked good. They did a good job. The general operations millage rate, we're recommending that you adopt it at 5.3694, which is what you set on September 8th, and the debt service adopting it at 0.071 mils. The overall operations millage rate of 5.3694 is 0.8806 mils less than the fiscal year 2022 rate of 6.25 mils, or about a 14.1% decrease. And just as a reminder, the rollback rate, as defined by Florida statute, is designed to give you the exact same level of revenue as the prior year, plus any growth that's associated with any additions that's being added to the tax rolls. So overall, we had about $1.3 billion added to the tax rolls, so that's the growth component associated with the rollback rate. And then the rollback rate itself is really designed to just simply give you the same level of revenue that you had from the 6.25 mils in the prior year. Overall, the tentative budget was approved by the City Council was actually the total 23 budget is at $966,894,375. And since the tentative budget that you approved on September 2nd was September 8th, sorry, was $944,595,558. So we've had a couple of changes since then. Some of the things that we've talked to you about since January that we had planned on doing as far as the overall budget, but at the same time we needed to make the adjustment for the change in the millage rate, which was a little over $4 million. We needed to add the adjustment for the PST funding of $4 million, and we've moved out the fire service assessment, as well as the total cost of fire from the general fund into a special revenue fund, which, as you'll recall, we had that discussion because basically it's a restricted revenue source. And we want to be able to track that and record it the way it's really designed to be recorded as far as special revenue is concerned. At the same time, as you'll recall, we added in the carpet for the city attorney's office. We also added in furniture for human resources at $10,000. And we had talked last meeting that there was about a $200,000 lease that was inadvertently put in the building fund when it should have been in the general fund. So we've made that adjustment as well. Overall, the $55.5 million associated with the fire department has been moved into the special revenue fund. We show a transfer out from the general fund to support the non-FSA supported portion of fire. And then we see a decrease associated with the fiber optics project, which basically is the net associated with going to the rollback rate and adding in the $4 million for the public service tax. And that's the net change to the overall budget. So that brings the budget from the tentative budget that was approved at the September 8th meeting to the final proposed budget of $966,894,375. As a reminder, some of the budget highlights that is included in this proposed budget, we're looking at replacing the CAD RMS system for which is the computer-aided dispatch and records management system for both fire and police. Finish out the fire training facility construction as well as police training facility construction. We're looking at constructing Fire Station 13 in 2023, as well as doing a design for Fire Station 10. For infrastructure, we have road resurfacing, alleyway paving that we do every year. We also have some additional sidewalk money that we've put into the budget, intersection improvements for where we're going to be putting in some lighting and or signalization. We have the PD&E funding, 1/2 of the funding for a project that is likely to occur in 2024, and we're doing some Northeast 1 the East and West Utility Extension Project. Parks, we have a lot of renewal and replacements to do in most of the existing parks that we have. Skate park building construction, we also are looking at doing a conceptual design for a community center / aquatic center, as well as multi-purpose athletic design, field design out by the Oasis Charter School system. Also, we're looking at doing some pocket parks in the boat ramps. Medium beautification as well as landscaping is also included in the proposed budget, as well as some stormwater system improvements and solid waste convenience center pilot program continuation. Although this will be funding in the first year, with in increasing the service levels associated with this will be funded in the first year by Waste Pro, our current solid waste provider. So the next steps for tonight is to adopt the final millage rates in Ordinance 80-2022. And this must be set first before you can set the final budget. And of course, at the conclusion of the budget hearing for the Ordinance 81-22, which is the budget, then we're looking for an adoption of that budget as well. And I'm here for any questions you have.
I'll now open the public hearing. If there's anyone that wishes to speak on Ordinance 80-22, please come forward.
Okay. Tom Shadrack again. Betty's going to show a chart that I've prepared. I was a little disappointed in Mr. Mason's briefing and only showing half of an equation on his chart. He did talk about it a little bit, but it's very disappointing that he would only talk about a 14.1% decrease in the millage rate when that is a half of an equation. And it kind of misrepresents the truth. And the state has passed, the trim law to try to prevent that type of misrepresentation about what a decrease in the millage rate does. Now, there's a guy that, a national radio announcer named Paul Harvey, that would read a headline and then tell you the rest of the story. I'm going to try to do that for you tonight. The actual, millage rate has to be multiplied times the assessed property values in Cape Coral. The Lee County appraiser estimated our property value at $22.7 billion. That's a $4.3 billion increase over last year, for a 24% increase in our property assessments. So you've got to compare the 14.1% decrease in millage and the 24% increase in property assessed value. And that's an equation that multiplies together to get your property tax. I did that for you in the last block there, showing the 5.3. Is that better? So the 5.3
694 mills times 22.7 billion gives the $121.9 million in property assessments, or a 6.4% increase in property tax dollars over last year. Now, so you got your 14.1% decrease in millage, 24% increase in assessed value equals a 6.4% increase in your property tax dollars over last year, or 7.3 million. As Mr. Mason said, that was, the 7.3 is due to growth. The rollback rate gives you equal taxes for property owners as of January 1. So I'm just saying the rest of the story is 14.1 decrease, 24% increase equals a 6.4 property tax dollar increase.
And, any questions on my information there before I sit down?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on ordinance 8022? Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 8022, setting the operating millage rate at 5.3694 mils and the millage rate at the Parks General Obligation Bond at 0.0471 mils?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. City Manager or Mr. Mason, just to clarify, that 6.4% increase in property tax dollars that Mr. Shadrack is talking about, that is exclusively due to the housing value increase, correct?
It's exclusively due to the increase or the add of $1.3 billion to the tax rolls.
Correct. Which
If
is
you're going
from-
to look at it from that
Yes,
standpoint,
I
yes.
just want to clarify for the public, because I want this to be crystal clear. So the 1.3 billion then, that is due to the increase in property values.
The $1.3 billion was the new construction that was added to the tax rolls.
Gotcha.
As I stated at the beginning, when you're talking about how the rollback rate works, it's designed to give you the exact same value in taxes
Right.
as the prior year, even with growth in value. So it rolls back the tax rate, so you're actually getting the same, plus growth. Growth is the growth in value that is associated with new construction.
Correct. And so we had growth, so therefore that's where the additional revenue comes from.
Correct, which
Gotcha.
is normal.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. I
Yes.
just wanted to state that for the public. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. City Manager, did you have something else? No. Okay. Is there any other council discussion? Mr. Mayor, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Welsh,
Aye.
Cosden,
No.
Gunter,
Aye.
Hayden,
No.
Long,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Shepherd,
Aye.
Tate,
Aye.
6 ayes, 2 nays, motion carried.
Thank you. Ordinance 8122. Madam City Clerk, please read the title.
Ordinance 81-22, an ordinance adopting the City of Cape Coral operating budget, revenues and expenditures, and capital budget for the fiscal year 2023 for the City of Cape Coral, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance, providing severability and an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any staff comments?
Mayor Pro Tem, we do not. We've given you the presentation, the overview of the budget in our last presentation.
Thank you. I'd open the public hearing. Does anyone wish to speak on this item?
Hi, Tom Shadrack again, permanent resident. If I could just have Mr. Mason bring up his chart 6, I got a couple questions on that. Okay, first of all, the $4 million from the public service tax, that's a pure windfall. I mean, we have roughly $9 million in the budget that was planned from the PSD, and this is just a windfall that I suggested yesterday at the council meeting. We consider giving that back to our residents who are hurting due to the electric tax increase that they're all experiencing today. Now, you'd have to act today, because I think it takes 6 months to implement a stopping the tax for 6 months. I'm recommending that from April to September. That would save the residents 10% if you include the franchise fee as well, which is a windfall. And it just surprises me that this council and the city manager, when they see a windfall and the taxpayers are bearing the brunt of that, that their first reaction is to spend it instead of giving it back to the residents. And as we know, everybody is suffering with these expensive electric bills. Seeing a 10% reduction next summer during the heat of the year would really be beneficial to them. And I think you should consider reducing this back out of the budget, since it was kind of accelerated into it and being spent, and hold it off and do the ordinance correctly to lower that next summer and give that money back to our residents. They'd appreciate it, I'm sure. The second question I have, I'm a little, the $22 million growth. I mean, the fire, I understand the transfers between the general budget and the special revenue fund, but why was there growth of $22 million in the budget?
The change is primarily the transfer between funds, because we're required to count it twice, essentially.
Thank you.
So it's a growth, so there's no revenue needed for it?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on ordinance 8122? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 8122, establishing the operating and capital budget at $966,894,375?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there council discussion? I have lights on. Councilmember Costin?
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. The $4 million was not a windfall. It's how we were able to get to this point with the rollback rate. We would have had to cut more services and programs if we hadn't factored this in. It's not a windfall, and it's not like we're spending it on fun things and going, to theme parks with it. It's being spent on city services. I just want to clarify that for the public, because there's often misinformation given at the citizens input podium, and I just want to be crystal clear, like Councilmember Nelson said. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Welsh?
Yes, I just want to reiterate the same thing. As you were on the Budget Review Committee and you were a part of the whole process, you did realize that we were split 4-4 for quite a long time. And until this extra $4 million was around, I think would have been sitting last week and this week a lot longer, because it didn't seem like there was a compromise available. And just to make sure and known, when it came to the Budget Review Committee's decision, their decision was to go with the proposed rate, which was a higher rate than this. And without this $4 million public service tax, I believe 2 of the current council members that are voting yes on this would not have voted on it. So not quite a windfall, I think, that we needed to give back to the citizens, but quite a windfall that we needed to save the city services that we needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll? Mr. Mayor, did you have anything?
No, thank you.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Welsh,
Aye.
Costin,
Aye. No. No.
Gunter,
Aye.
Hayden,
No.
Long,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Shepherd,
Aye.
Tate.
Aye.
6 ayes, 2 nays, motion carried.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank all of you for all the time that you've given during the course of this year in order to put this budget together and bring it home tonight. So thank you all very much. And for my staff and, the hard work that they did in putting this together, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mason, we'd like to thank you and your staff for doing an amazing job and answering all of our questions and meeting with us individually. It was truly a team effort this year, and I think we did a really good job. So I'd like to have a motion to adjourn, but I would like to announce also the time and place of the next meeting is the Committee of the Whole meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 28th, 2022 at 9 a.m. in the council chambers. A special meeting of the Cape Coral City Council is scheduled for Wednesday, September 28th, 2022, beginning at 1 p.m. in Conference Room 220A. Is there a motion to
So
adjourn?
moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Who
Meeting
won?
is adjourned.
Who won?